Hi, folks. I'm camping on BLM land um, southwest of Colorado Springs, Colorado, about mm, 35 or 40 miles. It's getting here was to this one was kind of interesting because I got off the highway and it said I was only like 3 or 4 miles away from the site. And I'm driving through residential and thinking, wow, that's BLM. Whenever I was out in the desert in Arizona on BLM land, that was a long ways out. This is very close. I can see a barn over there and a house and an RV just right over yonder. Um, but this is definitely BLM. It's clearly marked as such. Uh, the road in was not too bad. I take it pretty easy. I've got good tires on my truck, but they're road tires. My truck's a road machine. It's not an off-road kind of thing. So when I do these kind of places, I'm really careful about driving in. Uh, but there are other people here. There's right right over there is somebody in, and I hear them talking, I guess. That's a VW. It's not an old one. It's I forget what they call it. It's the last one they did that was a van that you'd camp in. And then right over there, they're in a fifth wheel. I, oh my. Okay, there's somebody driving up. Right over there, that red thing. I don't know what they're doing. I drove in. I passed. There must be um, 6 or possibly even 8 other campers here. And by camper, I don't know how many people there are. But that fifth wheel over there is impressive because I to go much beyond where I'm at right now, I was getting a little nervous about taking out an oil pan or something because of the big rocks. Um, that's one of those Ram vans, big Ram van. I know I saw one of them up there. Maybe I saw 2 of them going further in. I don't know how far this goes in. I think I'm in about a mile. It may go in a couple of miles. But camping on BLM land is nice. I really enjoy BLM land because you know there are basically no rules out here. You can't stay more than 14 days. I think is usual limit in one spot. This right here, there's a flippin' parking lot. I mean, it's huge, and there are several. There's a cable and pipe fence, but there are several places where there's an opening in the fence big enough to walk through. And I think I get the impression that they want you to hike in, but you wouldn't be hiking very far because there's a town just right over there. Not a big town, but it's a town. Uh, they've got some wooden rail fences over there. Over here is uh, those posts about that big around with the cable going through them. Um, it's a nice place to come. Uh, there's a storm coming over here. Right, right over there. You can see it's moving very slowly, and right, right down here, I've got my little 1 point. I think it's a 1.2 liter cast iron Dutch oven. It's that German one, and it's a weird size. You know, if I tried to buy a Lodge, American made, uh, and Lodge is very common. If you know anything about cast iron, you know there are lots of Lodge pieces out there. But they stopped making the 1 liter Dutch oven. And if you want to buy one, they're like, you can get them. New in box, I'm sure but they're $350. Oh boy. A cast iron skillet's like $25. You can get a 2-quart Dutch oven for around 50 or so. So a 1 quart, I would expect it to be around 40 to 60 somewhere there, but 350, no thank you. But I've got some baked potatoes in there. I went to Walmart in Colorado Springs. I saw one as I was driving by, and so I went in and I got a couple of gallons of water, and I got a salad, and I got a 6-pack of PBR. That's what's going on here. I don't remember what else I got. But I got 3 baking potatoes, and I have 2 of them. That's all that would fit in my Dutch oven. The other one, I'm using it to support my phone right now, where I'm making a video. But camping on BLM land is really nice. It's just, I got to get my arm in. It's chilly. I coming in before I got to Colorado Springs, it actually got up above 60. But by the time I got up here, it was starting. The temperature was starting to drop. I can see a lake right over there, but it's 3 to 5 miles away, and there was no stream. I didn't cross a stream or anything coming in here, so I didn't get any water for bathing. And by now it's too too cold for me to bathe. I don't take cold showers. No, I adamantly refuse to take cold showers unless something happens in the middle of a hot shower and I'm stuck to get the soap off. I take warm water showers. Now I may take them when it's cold out, but I don't want to be out taking a cold water shower when it's just in the 50s. That's a little harsh, especially if the wind's blowing. There comes a motorcyclist. One of the vans, there were 2 dirt bikes there, a couple of guys, and one of them's going by now. And there goes the other one. It was an older guy and a younger guy. I don't know if father and son or just friends, who knows. Not that much older. It might not have been old enough to be a father and son. But BLM land, people, based upon my experience, people try to keep separated as much as reasonably they can. Now this parking lot, I've never seen a parking lot like this thing. You could have easily have a half dozen of those 5th wheel RVs over here, and everyone would have plenty of room. That's kind of weird. I wanted to go someplace a little bit more private, but like I said, I went far enough that I wasn't feeling good about my truck not being damaged, and I have no intention of damaging it. Dents in my truck are from going places are not something I'm interested in. But BLM land is free, doesn't cost anything. You probably not find any facilities. There's usually no trash cans, no toilets, no water, no electricity. It's just free dispersed camping. So you have to be as self-contained as you can. Um, and I've got 200 watts of solar, and so far I've been doing okay with staying warm at night when I'm sleeping using my electric blanket and running off of 200 watts. Uh, when it's cloudy, it was mostly sunny today, and I got up to like 97% on my Jackery 1000. But if it's cloudy, I need to plug my Jackery into the truck. And if it's cool out and it's cloudy, I will unplug my refrigerator, which I'm about ready to do that anyway, because I don't. The refrigerator runs 24/7, 365, unless I just don't have enough solar to keep it going. And the the 200 watts of solar um, charges a 100 amp hour battery, and then the 100 amp hour battery charges a Jackery 1000, and the Jackery 1000 charges the Jackery 300. I started with the Jackery 300, and then I went to the 200 watts of panels on top of the truck and the 100 amp hour battery. This is all technical, but some people might be interested in it. And that 100 amp hour battery is not enough to keep my refrigerator charged and keep my electric blanket going all night. Um, the Jackery 1000, if to run it, will run in my electric blanket. It'll use about 50% of the power to keep me warm, starting in mid-evening until I'm ready for coffee in the morning. Uh, but it works. It works well. I just have to pay attention to the cloud cover and how many miles I'm going to drive. If I was going to do it, if it's going to be cloudy for a couple of days and I wasn't going to be driving very much, I would need to find an electric site to keep stuff running. But so far, I don't know how long I've been on the road on this trip. A while. I have not used an electric site, which also, for that matter, I haven't had a hot water shower site. I haven't stayed at a site that had hot water showers yet, so I'm getting by. I'm staying clean, but it's not easy. um, the food cooking is, you need to be prepared to do it and learn how to do it, but uh, you can live very cheaply with these BLM campsites because it just doesn't cost anything to be here. You don't have to pay anybody anything to stay here. Where I was at last night, that place, that car hinge place, I paid $13, and I was probably on a $30 spot. But whenever I came in, one of the legal prices was $13, and that's with nothing, no services except the porta potty. So I couldn't find where the $13 sites were at. I was the only one there, so I parked. I did not hook up to anything. I only used the porta potty. So I used $13, according to them, worth of services. Was it worth $13? There was no free sites anywhere around. And if you're out on the interstate, just a whole lot of times you can stay at a rest area and just don't make a big deal out of it and don't stay very long. You pull in. I always try to pull in when it's starting to get dark and be gone just the first light or before, because they don't want you camping there most places. Some places have big signs everywhere, no camping or but and I don't do those. I hate Walmart parking lots, but those, you want to get out of there as quickly as possible. But this kind of place, those are free places, but this kind of free is different. It's the sign says you can be out, you're fine to be out here for 14 days. So nobody's going to hassle you. Excuse me. Uh, Tomorrow, I'm sort of heading towards something called the Royal Gorge. Um, and this campsite is part of the Royal Gorge Ranger District or something like that. I saw a little sign on the way in, so I must be fairly close. Um, and then once I leave, once I, assuming I should make it to that easily tomorrow morning, probably. I won't be there very long. Um, and there's a fee for it. And I don't think it's federal, so I don't think my pass will get me in. But I think it's less than $15. And, I will look around, and if I've got to do it, I think I can see everything from the parking lot without paying anything. And I don't know. We'll see. I'm trying to do this as budget tight as possible. Um, but then there's another place that I want to go to. It's Mesa Verde National Park or something like that. It's where the cliff dwellers were. Um, something there. I think there's a cliff palace there or something. But anyway, I'm exploring and having fun with it. I talked to a lady today. Today was a laundry day, um, and Sydney, Nebraska. I stopped in Sydney, Nebraska to do laundry. And I washed my clothes and then I put them in the dryer, and the dryer said 40 minutes. And I thought, I'm not going to sit here for 40 minutes. So I walked around, and it's right in Virginia, you'd call it an old town. But they don't have to do that because everything here everything there was old town kind of thing. It was an old western town. It was pretty cool. It was. I don't think typically an old town, is something that got wiped out whenever the Walmart opened out at the edge of town, and there's nothing but. When they start resurrecting the buildings in Old Town, the best they can usually get is flea markets and things like that. This had a lot of stores in it. I don't think they were the original stores for the building, but anyway, there was a real estate office, a corner building, and it had a cornerstone. And the cornerstone was a Freemason thing, and it had dates on it, and it was only I didn't quite understand it because the dates were only a few years apart. I don't know what it was about, and there were no Masonic symbols or anything else like that on the building. But while I'm standing, I took a picture of it, and I thought I'd do a little research on it. I took a picture of the cornerstone. Here a lady comes out of a business that says they serve coffee and breakfast burritos and saddle gear, tack. She comes out and says, "Can I help you?" And she looked at me sternly, like she didn't want that homeless person being around. And I told her, I said, "I'm doing laundry over there," and I took a walk, and this town looks so cool. And then I found this Masonic cornerstone. And so I was looking in that, and I asked her if she knew anything about the building. Well, that completely disarmed her. And so she invited me in and introduced me to her dog. And she said, "I've got coffee, but I don't have cream and sugar." And she says, "I don't drink coffee." It's a little strange that she advertises on her sign that she has coffee, and she made me a cup of coffee, and I went to pay for it. She said, no, just anyway. She ended up telling me her life story, and we got along famously. And when it came time for me to go pick up my laundry, she says, "If you're ever back in town again, you stop around." But one of the things that she said, her husband died a few years ago, and she went out to California to live for a short period of time, came back to Nebraska, And she told me this story, and she's, oh, I suppose she was around my age, something like that. She's retirement age, but she was not retired. She was running this little shop just because her friend says you need to be doing something. And she said, she was kind of confused. She said, I've lived in 49 states. And I said, wow. And she said, the only place I haven't been is the East Coast. And I said, have you ever been to Maine? And she said, no, I want to go so much. I'm not sure how that added up to 49 states when she hadn't, I'm not even sure she'd been across the Mississippi yet. But uh, anyway, she wanted to go to Maine. And I said, why don't you go? Uh, and and she said, but I need to be here, you know. And I told her about my friend that wanted to go exploring, who always stayed home. Uh, she's uh, she's a big Georgia O'Keeffe fan, and I said, "You got a car? Get in your car and go." And she started planning to do that from Virginia to where would it be? I don't know. I know what Georgia O'Keeffe art. I recognize her work, but I don't know where her studio was. And she wanted to go to her studio. Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, somewhere southwest. And so she'd actually, I had made a Texas trip, and I came back to Virginia, and I was going to see her again after talking to her about going to. This was a dream trip of hers to go to see the Georgia O'Keeffe stuff. I got back and I said, "Hey, let's have coffee," and she never answers immediately. She's kind of she stays at home, and she's introverted, that sort of thing. And so I know whenever I suggest having coffee together, she'll be very disappointed if I didn't stop by. But she's reluctant to communicate about it until I get there, and then she's always so happy to see me. I get back from a trip to Texas, send her. She didn't answer right away, which wasn't surprising. I got a note from another friend that she died. She's gone. If you're gonna, if you want to do something, if you want to go explore, go explore. You reach a certain point where if you're waiting on people to join you, you probably never go. Maybe you will, but live life. Go go out and live life. And that's what I'm doing now. Some of these places I've wanted to see and I've never seen before. This place, not tomorrow. I've actually been to the Royal Gorge, but I was a child. I just remember seeing the little ants way down at the bottom, and somebody said those aren't ants, those are people. Or cars, I don't remember. It's a big, deep hole. I've also wanted to go see the place where the cliff dwellers are at, and I haven't seen that. That won't be tomorrow, I don't think, but probably the next day. Anyway, that's where I'm at. What's going on?